Welcome to today's edition of Education That Transforms. My name is Robert Elshad, and it is my distinct privilege to welcome you to today's segment. We would like to take this opportunity to thank you and our SEC Education Department community for making the 2021 school year a success. As we are nearing the end of another wonderful and productive school year, I can't thank everyone enough for their endless hours of volunteering, organizing, donating, and doing whatever was necessary to support our students, both home and school. Special thanks to the parents, who as usual went above and beyond the call of duty to provide whatever was necessary for our students' altered school experience. As this very unusual school year draws to a close, I would like to take a moment to share a few thoughts and sentiments on behalf of the leadership team here at the Southeastern Conference. None of us imagined that this school year would be disrupted and changed in such a dramatic fashion due to the coronavirus global pandemic. We find ourselves reflecting on the unprecedented year that is ending and already preparing for the fall when we hope that we will be back in school together. We thank God for His kindness, grace, and His mercy as our faculty and staff members continue to work hard to provide quality learning experiences for our students that continue to learn online from home. We have been amazed by the flexibility, tenacity, and creativity that our students have shown as they have navigated this new and different way of accessing their education. As we edge closer to summer, excitement's in the air for our graduates and those promoted. Nothing is impossible as long as God is in the midst. This program will discuss some of the crossroads we face and will touch on our outlook for the future. Once again, welcome to all our viewers. We hope that you enjoy this segment and ask that you like and share this link with others and subscribe to our channel. Our best wishes to the graduates whom we will greatly miss. Please come back and visit us. Let us bow our heads in prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, we come before your throne, singing praises, thanking you for who you are and what you represent to us. We thank you for the love that you have afforded us and the truth that you have handed to us. We ask that you help us not to keep it to ourselves, but to bless everyone that we come in contact with as well. Please be with our schools, our school programs, our churches, our conferences and union. And as we reach to this crossroad in our lives, as we try to make it safely across that road, we ask that you be with us, hold our hands, lift us where we can't move ourselves. Help us to get to that place where we are safe in your love and care. Amen.
afternoon, and welcome again to Education That Transforms. This afternoon, it is my privilege to host our educators here at the Southeastern Conference. We have Mr. Somerville, who is the principal, at Perrine SDA School. We also have Mr. Gavin Ganier, who is the vice principal at Miami Union Adventist Academy. We have lovely Matherin, who is our principal at Ephesus Junior Academy in West Palm Beach. We have Cynthia Murray, our principal at Mount Olivet Junior Academy. And last, we have Clorinda Shelton, who is our kindergarten teacher at Ephesus Junior Academy in Jacksonville. So with us, our panel today represents three different levels that we find in education. Our fourth being our superintendents, but they've allowed us to join today so that we can sit down and discuss life pre, during, and post, well, hopefully post-COVID in the fall. So principals, vice principals, teachers, thank you and welcome again to today's program. So I know this sounds odd, and I don't think anyone anticipated this question, but do you remember what life was like before COVID in the classroom? And this is a general question, so anyone please feel free.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start here. So life before COVID in the classroom was, it was already challenging as it is. We can't say that life in the classroom prior to COVID was easy because we always had our challenges, right? We have students that we have to work with, and we want them to advance academically and to grow spiritually. But we're faced with so many different personalities, so many different challenges as far as student discipline. Students come from different backgrounds. So you're faced with a lot of different things, and teachers are called to be so many things, right? And this was all prior to COVID. This was not brought on just by COVID. This was prior to COVID. You have to be counselors. You have to be advisors. You have to be, support for your students in many different ways while, doing everything else that is required for a teacher and preparing lesson plans and preparing to teach in the classroom. And then, making adjustments as need be so that, you can reach all of the different students with all their different learning styles and their capabilities. So it was challenging prior to COVID, but it was also very exciting. It's fun being in the classroom with the students and having that interaction. It's an exciting thing. It really gets the students, they're really focused and they're really interactive when they're there with you. And, you have that social aspect as well that was really a major part of the experience in the classroom.
Okay, thank you. That was, that took me back a little bit. So let me ask you, communication-wise, what changes did you see with communication? Before we did have parent-teacher conferences and we did have phone calls and checking in, but how did the line of communication change with the onset of COVID and then this school year going through it? What was that like?
Okay, so recommunication, the line of communication changes greatly in terms of not having that face-to-face home and school environment where parents would be right there with you. There was a lot of emails, more so than before. A lot of texting. We had to text. We had to do a lot of texting also. If you happen to call, you also ensure that calls were sent from one person to another. So if somebody had to call someone else and they have a particular information, that also was spread around. So it calls for a lot of creativity in terms of the communicating means.
Okay, I would like to mention, I agree with Mr. Somerville. Before the COVID, you could communicate better with the parents by having teacher-parent meetings. They come to the school and you discuss about what their child needs and how they're progressing. And sometimes I was emailing them and I'll text them. But like he said, you did more since the COVID, you did more texting and more emailing. But for my situation, I didn't get a lot of feedback from my parents because, of course, they were involved in the same challenges doing their work, doing virtual. Their jobs, a lot of them were at home and they had to work at home and then having the child there. And I'm sure they had a lot of things to juggle around, trying to get them on computers, putting themselves on computer to work. So I didn't get too much communication. You get a couple of parents that are already on the computer and they hear a text on their phone, they will respond back to me. But it's pretty challenging for the parents too, having to work at home and having the children there to learn virtually.
I think for a lot of us, the means of communication did not change as much as the frequency of communication. I think the only addition to how we communicate with parents that was new was the addition of video communication through Zoom. So being able to utilize Zoom not only for teaching and interacting with students, but also how we held our parent-teacher conferences. Some of our teachers did do it via Zoom. So that has been one of the major changes there.
Yes, and I agree. I agree. I was going to say that I think with video communication with Zoom, or if you're using Google Meets, there were more parents, at least at my school, that were able to attend the meetings because they could be at home while something's cooking or they're washing dishes or tending to the kids. They could still attend with you. So that helped, I think, to improve our participation in parent-teacher conferences and other meetings, for sure. So I definitely agree with that. Texting was a means of communication. I remember paper newsletters that you would hand out every week with your students before they left. That was out the door. So now it becomes electronic, it becomes more colorful, and it's really up to the parents to stop and look on their phone or in their computer and check it. But again, they're busy too. They are working from home as well. So it has been a challenge. And we've just been, I know, flexible with our parents as well.
Yeah, in terms of that, I met some serious challenges because sometimes I had to ask the secretary, one email had to go out 3 times sometimes because you come across parent and they say, but I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything, and you have to send it again and they tell you the same thing again, you call them, and it really takes a lot.
It does. One thing I would say though, as Mr. Ganir, and I think everyone else has been saying, is that the way we're communicating has changed somewhat. Parents at our school were communicating a lot more, I would say, with the teachers. There's more direct interaction or communication going on with the teachers and the parents because, as we've all stated, some of them are at home working with their while their students are in school. And so they're there, they're not too far. They can hear the interaction and they'll chime in sometimes, which sometimes is good and sometimes, but it's been interesting. It's just more of a constant communication going on between the teachers and the students and the parents. So it's changed somewhat, but there are pros and cons to both, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me ask this other question, and I know our principals may be better able to answer this. In terms of enrollment, now looking back, it's May, right? Where we began in August and where we are now, changes, can you share with us some of the changes that may have taken place? And even, if you were able to acquire more students, maybe because of the way that you were giving education, not giving, but the way we were educating our students. And can you speak to that for us, please?
Well, our school, what a blessing. We actually grew 100%. So our school doubled. And it literally was a few days before school started. And I remember registration Sunday, the Sunday before we actually start school, I had maybe 4 or 5 new families and registering, starting the process from the beginning, bringing in scholarship award letters, or maybe they didn't even have award letters at that time. So that was a huge shock and a blessing for us. And then there were a few students, one would go back to public school and then one would come back from public school. And that kind of happened back and forth until, we had 21 and then we evened out at 20. So, it was just a huge blessing. We have all of these families re-enrolled for the next school year and new coming. So it has been a blessing. I think that this year was the year to it's almost like a make or break year. They're going to love you for what you're doing with their students, or they're going to say, well, this wasn't for me. So we knew that it was critical. God blessed us because our church decided to fast and pray 2 weeks before school started. We were going to start one day and, we delayed it a little bit. And they said, no, we're going to intentionally fast and pray. And then those students just showed up out of almost literally nowhere. And so we knew that this year our customer service, everything had to be even top notch because we were catering to these new families. We have to have them return. It's critical. So that's kind of where we were. And we've never seen that before in the start of a school year, that big of growth.
God answers prayers. Definitely.
Yes, he does.
Ours likewise went on a somewhat upward trajectory because a transition was in place and some students had moved on. But during the year, we would have maintained a level. We had 35 thereabout, and it had dropped to about 30. But then we had people coming in. Even the last term, believe it or not, we had people coming in January, and we took them in, regularized things, and it's interesting when we listen to why people are frustrated, because a lot of the online learning frustrated a couple of students, and they come to us. They were really frustrated. That communication that we spoke about earlier on, we cannot underestimate it, how we as a school deal with our parents, because they are frustrated, their children are frustrated. And at times we too become frustrated, but we have to realize that we are serving them. And we would have gotten a couple of students in, via that route, being frustrated, and we say, all right, come on board. We facilitated them with laptops. We communicated with the parents. And out of that, we had a couple others coming on too. So that customer service, that relationship that we develop as a school with our children and with our parents cannot be underestimated.
Absolutely. And let me just add one thing. I think whatever they experienced between March, when COVID started, to May, and even in the summer with their other schools, whether they were public, private, charter, that made a difference in them changing and being willing to try, other schools. And so the experience that we give them, I agree with Mr. Somerville, is, they can love us and bring their friends and add siblings. And so that's what we're expecting next year. We have families that came, and now their younger siblings will be coming as well. So God has been good, but it is all about that experience, especially through COVID. This has been, it could be a blessing or it could be your undoing.
I was going to say the same thing as Mrs. Murray in regards to March to May of last year. That played a big part because our schools tend to grow mainly based on word of mouth. That is our biggest recruitment tool, is what our parents and families have to say about our school. And I think how our schools reacted to the start of the pandemic last school year, it set a tone that I think a lot of parents were happy with. There was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of fear, but whatever happened in our schools, I think it was positive because those parents went and told other parents who were not happy where they were at, and then those parents in turn came and registered in our schools. At Miami Union, we actually, our ninth grade class doubled. It was totally unexpected. It was a shock, and we had to actually split that class into two because of the growth. So we actually retained a lot of our eighth graders that went into ninth grade, more than we usually do. And we had a lot of ninth graders come in from other schools as well. So
Again, God is good, and He does make a way. Before we move on to where things stand today, can you share two questions? So the first will be, what about evangelism? We are an Adventist school system. And I know that with COVID, a lot of the focus was on student learning, which is, priority number one. But we are called as, I don't want to misquote, so I'm going to say, paraphrasing Ellen White, we're there to train the whole child, right? And the spiritual maturity of the child and growth is equally important to us. So what changes have you noted or implemented at your schools to ensure that we are meeting the needs of the children spiritually?
Okay. For me, we would have ensured that our devotional exercise in the mornings, each Monday morning we have that general devotion online, and that was awesome. I can tell you that here at Perrine it would have been really phenomenal. The feedback is that parents in the background are listening to what you are saying, and when you are conscious of that, you target them specifically sometimes, because as you have rightly says that evangelism is critical to what we do as an organization. We cannot underestimate that, and sometimes we really tend to overplay that intellectual side and downplay the spiritual side. In truth and in fact, it should be the other way around, because at the end of the day, it is what we do here in terms of fostering a relationship with God that is really going to last, not so much the intellectual stuff. So we had a fascinating year, to the extent we have seen baptisms. One young man, he came one morning, and that was in January. He says, I asked, what do you want for this year? And his two things were, one, I want to study more. And number two, I want to give my life to Jesus Christ. Less than 4 months after that, he accomplished both of them. And when we had awards the other day, he was one of those students. His name is Amari Soransi. He was one of those students that was not only most improved students, we had pulled him also into school. He was confident. and he is simply just bubbling. His parents are just like, is this Amari? Yes, Amari. And we are reaching out also now to not only the students, but the feedback from the wider society in terms of parental interest is exciting too.
Yeah, I would say that just kind of piggybacking off of what Mr. Somerville was saying, having that interaction, having the parents and other family members be exposed to our worship programs, our week of prayer programs. We had Finishing Strong that took place. We had another program that was NAD wide. That we had, that our parents were able, and our families that are in the homes with our children, and even sometimes, depending on where our students are, it may not be necessarily a family member, but some, a caregiver that's there with them, and they get exposed and they get the opportunity to worship with us and to have that experience with Jesus as well. So it's been, it's that whole connection between home and school that has been truly solidified this year, because here we are, we're in the homes. It's school taking place, but it's taking place in the homes. And so we have, that community, that binding community where we're working together with our families, with our parents to help our students to grow spiritually and academically. And, meanwhile, ministering to everyone that's in the home that is sharing in our worship experiences. So it's been amazing. And I truly think it's been something that has been different and exciting and has proven to be very effective.
Now, can you imagine being a sixth grader, seventh grader, eighth grader, or even a high school student in a public school where your teachers have over 125 students that they deal with every single day? When things were normal in the classroom, you were just, for many students, they felt like they were just a number. And I'm talking from experience, being someone who went to public school and as a teacher who has taught in public school. When you have over 120 students, they automatically become numbers. It's hard to work in any other mind frame. So it was hard in a normal situation, but can you imagine being one of those students? And now you're not in person, you're online in your own home, surrounded by whatever the situation of your home is like. And let's be real, a lot of homes are not ideal for children. A lot of children were already experiencing trauma prior to the pandemic. And now you put the pandemic in the mix of it, and the students are trapped. And that's where our students are lucky, because they're not a number. Our schools are small. Our students are in a familiar place with familiar people. But not just that, they're in a place where it's not just about the academics. There is something beyond the lesson that relates to life. It relates to God. It relates to how you can deal with this situation. How can you deal with trauma? And I think one of the biggest things that we did this year, our Pastor Lindsay has been working with our school, and we have our high school Bible teacher. During Mental Health Month, they were very intentional about what they spoke about. So every chapel during the month for all of our students, all the way from preschool to 12th grade, the topic was about mental health. It was about how do you, age appropriately, how do you deal with the situations in your life? Who can you turn to if you're having difficult times in life? And of course, in all things pointing to God, but giving the students practical measures, practical things that they could do, and knowing that they do have a support system, whether we're face-to-face or not, letting them know that they do have a support system of people who care about them has been a huge thing. And we've been very intentional about that this year.
Wow, that's awesome. And I would like to take this opportunity, since Mr. Ganeri, you touched on mental health, to invite our viewers to tune in next week because we will have Tiffany Adams, who was with us last week. She will be back, but this time the focus will be on mental health, and mental health specifically geared towards our students and parents and that situation. So that is something, a discussion that we will continue on with next week. So I just wanted to thank you for that segue. And like you said, it was very important. And I'm just listening to you, I am reminded of the goodness of God, because in the midst of a difficult situation, you know, there were opportunities to shed light and to have the Holy Spirit have openings for growth and spiritual rejuvenation, you know, on Fridays or Mondays or whatever days we had assembly and chapel. So in the midst of everything, we see that God is good. So I wanted to thank you for that. I did hear a little bit in our discussion, and then we will move forward to where we are now, about student learning. I know that it is very real and near and dear to our hearts. What have you noticed? You know, the patterns, the changes, the growth, and sometimes regression. What did you see, and how did you, you know, try to reach out to your students or the students at your school and, you know, try to get them on track, keep them on track with student learning?
Okay, so after that first term, all of our students were online. Then we did our map. We looked at the data. Now, the second term, we did the map very early. The first week we did it, the second week, and looked at the data, realized that they were struggling students. We reached out to them and pulled them in, and the improvement for those kids would have been tremendous. So the adjustment was made where they were concerned, and the benefits would have been seen and is being seen right now.
Yeah, one of the important things was that we learned really early on was flexibility. Due dates were almost like a thing of the past with students. They knew no due dates. It's like they forgot what that is to turn in an assignment, you know, or you're taking a test today in class or a quiz. It became, the first semester was eye-opening because our students were learning Canvas. They had a huge task to be trained in a whole new student learning management system. So we call it LMS and Canvas. And we had a few students that had come from public schools that were used to Canvas, but it was a learning curve for us and it was a learning curve for them. So what we found out was after first semester that we had to be flexible and sort of allow them more time to work with assignments and then figure out how to turn them in and how to use the technology to be able to make the best of it. And so we had to be flexible and understanding. We almost, gave them, time out. We would help them further time out. There were even students at the end of the quarter that we still allowed to work with assignments. I think the tracking of the assignments was challenging at first, learning how to use the calendar. So that was a challenge. But then, we had as well Title I, which was a great support when it started this school year, for extra tutoring. And then there were some students that just, after school between 4 and 5, you need an extra hour, and there were students that normally wouldn't need that extra time, but for some reason, it's just the whole experience with COVID. It was daunting. They were struggling to focus. They were struggling to find like a groove, so to speak, this year. And so, we had to be flexible. So I think that was our main takeaway. Using Map Growth, I saw in my school tremendous growth. there weren't necessarily a lot of learning losses. You know, they talked about summer loss, and then it was going to be even more from COVID, and I didn't see that. You know, they were asking us not to compare fall of 2019 to or 2020 to fall of 2021. And when I compared, I was like, but my students are still having gains. So why would I not compare that data? Do I just do away with it? So, you know, some of those things, they're important to look at, and they're important to note that, you know, our schools were doing great. And I owe that all, and I credit that all to Christ.
So we had to make a lot of adjustments as well. We went towards the direction of digital material. So that was very helpful. We did use that somewhat prior to COVID, but going into the COVID environment, it became almost a requirement because, you know, when COVID first hit and we had to close down last school year, parents were, you know, getting assignments, having to print them and scan and upload. And it was a challenge. And, you know, you have some students who, you know, would have missing assignments simply because, you know, they either could not, like the younger students, they could not go through that process on their own. They needed the assistance of their parents. And if their parents were not available, if they ran out of ink or paper, you know, so there were a lot of challenges as far as those things were concerned. So moving to digital, all digital, in our curriculum really made a major difference. It was students were able to now have access to the material at home, even though we did also have the print material for the students, just in case, because you want to make sure you can, you know, have the resources available for students no matter where they are. You want to meet them where they are. You know, for some students, they were able to pick up with the digital material, access the material, and you know, stay on top of their work and submit on time. But then you have other students who parents prefer they use the book, for instance, and it's fillable. So, you know, that works out, and the parent can just take the picture with the phone or something and just upload it. So as Ms. Principal Murray stated, it was just a lot of flexibility, a lot of adjustments that had to be made along the way. But we did what needed to be done so that we can assist our students and our parents and our families to get to where they need to be, academically and spiritually.
Well, in my case, of course, I teach the kindergartners, so it had the pro and the cons in the teaching ability of getting them to understand and grasp the concepts of what they were learning. So we made packets for them. We had to make packets the week or two in advance. So we followed a system where we had our math, our language arts, our reading, and put them in packets, and then little activities that they can do at home at first. But some of them were, my class was small, so some of them were able to come into the classroom, and we still make the packet so they'll have something to follow up on. So I would teach what's out of the packet, and what they didn't understand, I'll go back over it with them. And when they didn't finish, of course, they could take it home and depending on hoping that the parents would engage with them and going over their work so that it wouldn't be such a struggle for them to grasp. But it could be a little challenging trying to get their attention when we had to go virtual, trying to keep them focused and staying on point. That was a little challenging, but coming into the classroom was more convenient for me because I had access to different things, different learning tools to indulge with them. And it's very helpful. It was very helpful. And we had the view board, and they're excited about the view board because I put on a lot of assistant teachers that come up on the screen. And like Jack Hartman is for a good example. And he has a whole gamut of learning tools for children, learning vowels, learning sounds, Pop School was another one. And helping teaching the children how to count in Spanish. I mean, coming in the classroom was very helpful for me, and it was very rewarding for the children because you had some kids that had challenges, and sometimes I had to go on a one-on-one with them while some of them carried on. They just moved forward. Their reading ability picked up from the first part of the semester, and from August to now, I can see such a great improvement. Some of them are very independent. They can read the instructions, the directions in their packet, and just move on with their work. And it's just rewarding and exciting to me. And I'm just, like you say, nothing but the Lord and the Holy Spirit got us through this inconvenience of the pandemic. But my children, moving forward, they're ready to move to the first grade. I'm very happy and pleased how everything has worked out.
I am grateful to God for what He's been able to accomplish in our students, definitely. And, you know, we're talking here and we are reflecting on these past, can you believe it, 14 months already. So we were at crossroads to say when everything had to shut down, and changes and, you know, decisions. We did end up moving just from purely a virtual setting to schooling, but then having hybrid classes and bringing on our struggling learners. And it would seem that we are now again about to enter another set of decision-making moments. And as we're looking at these crossroads again, let's take a look. I would say, where do you think we are right now? If someone comes and asks you for just a few words, where does your school stand now? And how confident are you about the fall? What would you say?
So for
Okay.
me, go ahead, Mrs. Simple.
Okay, thanks. For us here at Perrine, I would say we are 85% ready for the fall. And as a staff, as a body here, we are definitely anticipating what it is going to be. These students have been cooped up literally for a year, apart from, you know, the few that we have. And they are going to be energetic. They are going to be overly excited. Good. They're not going to be easily contained. Now, we have already planned because we are thinking that we want to ensure that we have a vibrant physical education program, even more vibrant than it has ever been. And we're not only going to allowing them to play, because we are going to combine that physical education program with their intellectual development. We are merging both things, and it is going to be targeted. We are not going to frustrate ourselves. And as educators, we can circumvent that frustration. We can. So you have your science class, you're having your science class. We definitely are going to merge those aspects of science theory with the practice. We are going to go on the outside. We are going to have books too. So we are going to combine, whether it is mathematics or reading, whatever, because we need to make sure that they don't kill us before time. That is why we are educators. That is why we are educators. So we have to be strategic, and we are planning for them. They are going to laugh and smile, and we are going to smile because we are going to see the academic performance going up just the same.
So we're excited. A lot of, COVID, it's been tough, right? Needless to say. But, with everything, you have to look at the silver lining, right? And look at the good that came out of it. And so there are different resources and things that were offered to our schools because of the challenges that we had to face in this COVID environment. And, having these added resources, we've also gotten some grants that we're also going to use. So we have these different things that we are putting in place to prepare for this coming school year. And if COVID has taught us nothing, it's that, in a split second, technology becomes the way of everything, right? The way we work, the way we play, the way we have school, right? So if we didn't know it before, if we didn't understand that before, technology is the way of the world. And so if we were not using it before, we were pushed to use it instantly, right? And for those of us who didn't have, at our school, we did have a platform in place that we were using prior to that, but we didn't use it as much as we had to, when we had to close down and move to a distance learning setup. And then now with the hybrid. So, we're excited that we have some of those technological tools in place that we can continue to advance in that area, because we know that that is the way of the world. And we want our children, our students, to be ready, right? So that they can be competitive in the world, so that they can walk into any workplace as they go into the workforce, being prepared and ready to go, and having the tools, the knowledge, the experience necessary for them to advance and for them to grow and provide their world, their society with the best of themselves that they can provide it with. So we're excited about that. And we're excited about, just being together and having that social interaction. I know the students are excited and ready, parents are excited and ready, and teachers and staff members, school staff, we're all excited as well and ready to go and ready, as Mr. Somerville said, for us to make those necessary changes. The other thing, as you stated, that the pandemic has taught us is that we need to be mobile, we need to move more. And so even in our classrooms, we start looking at different ways of doing things so that we make sure that as our students are learning, they're also, being more mobile. Even for the teachers, for instance, this past year, have had to find opportunities for them to move more, right? Because it's kind of challenging. Sometimes you have to be in front of the device to teach with distance learning. But, as I've told my teachers, you find ways to get up and move, find times where you can, move more. And so we want to implement those things. If we can have desks, my hope and my dream is that we can have the kind of setup in the classroom where students are not necessarily sitting at all, right? And I know that, sometimes we look at that, teachers think about that and they're like, whoa, I need to contain them. But, there's ways. And when you have project-based learning, for instance, that's another direction that we want to head into that I think is really going to make a major difference with our academic progress at our school. I don't want to take too much of the time, but we're very excited. We have a lot of plans, a lot of wonderful plans, and we just pray that God is able. He's already started providing for us with our grants and our resources. So we just pray that we're able to, he's able to work with us so that we can channel all that to provide the best that we can provide for our students.
We are also excited and we're ready. I know you have to be mentally ready. And I believe our school is mentally ready. We have God on our side. Our theme was trust in the Lord, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. So we trust God to get us through for this next school term. And I think what's important that we have good classroom management. So once those children come in, they'll be ready to learn. They see the different props on the walls and different stations set up. I think once they see all that organization, they'll be ready. We are ready as educators. And I think we'll have a good year once all the children come back. Because like you said, they are ready to come back in. The parents are ready for them to come back in. So I think they will appreciate having to come into the building and be focused and ready to learn.
Amen. I'm going to say that we're stronger. There's no turning back. I mean, gosh, we learned so many new things this year. There's so many possibilities. I asked one of my colleagues, so do you think you'll still use a lot of these digital platforms? And they're like, oh yeah, why not? To integrate them. Imagine we have kindergartners and first graders that are now global citizens. They know how to host and log a Zoom meeting. They know how to share their screen. They know how to get on, log in independently, because many times their parents, could not help them. I mean, everybody is just, I would say, just more independent. Our minds are open to learning new things. And so things that we've always done the same way, now we're welcome to trying out new things. And we're just looking forward to it. I think that having them back in, we've taken advantage of being in-person learners for so long. And I think parents will be happy, students will be happy, teachers will be happy as well. Obviously taking precautions as we continue through, this pandemic. But our students have just grown. They are true global citizens. They can use these new skills to compete as they ready for high school and beyond. And that is so exciting. So we're ready, and we can't wait to greet them in the fall.
That is awesome. So last question, and I will begin with Mr. Ganir and then give you all an opportunity. What advice do you have for parents and students as we shut our physical and virtual doors for the summer, because now we're on two platforms, or we're educating in two ways? What advice do you have for parents so that this growth, these new skills that they've learned, that they continue to get stronger and not just, go to waste, so to speak, during the summer? What can you give them? What can you tell them?
Well, my advice is the same, regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not. And that is to get your children to read. I think, personally, I'm a science teacher, but it doesn't matter. I always think that the most important subject is language arts, because if a student knows how to read, they have the ability to learn everything else themselves. So that's my top advice, is to institute reading times if you have to. Set aside study time during the summer for your children, and make reading a priority. Even you as the parent, set the example and join them. Give them a book and grab yourself a book as well, and read together as a family. So that's number one. I believe Moby Max is still available during the summer. You can log your children in and get them to work on their language arts skills. You can do the same for math. Help them to continue to review their math skills over the summer, the things that they've learned. And not just what they learn, but the great thing about Moby Max is you can push them ahead. If you can get your kids ahead of the game, they're going to be successful. What happens in the classroom is great. What happens at home, I think, is more important. So just get them in the habit of having that spirit of learning and wanting to learn. So again, reading and practicing those math skills.
I agree with Mr. Gaynor with the reading. I encourage my parents now to, especially spelling words. Our children in the kindergarten, they have spelling tests every week. And I try to encourage the parents, again, communicating with them, keeping a open communication with the parents. And I send out texts to let them know, well, your child needs to read. We send books home for the children to read so the parents can engage with them, and to encourage them to go over their spelling words, because it's those words that they recognize when they're reading. So hopefully the door of communication will be more open between me and the parent, so that we can work as a team to help their child be successful in their educational learning, as well as their spiritual too. I have parents, like you said, we don't know what goes on in that home. We don't know the distresses, all the stresses of life that carry on because of this change with the COVID. And I have prayer, or I'll send out a prayer on a text to the parents to encourage them. And they like that. So I want to encourage all of us as educators to pray with those parents, send out a prayer text for them to encourage them and to help them feel a lightening of the load so that they will engage with their children. Because I'm sure if they're working at home and the kids are at home and they're on virtual, it's very stressful. So I would tell my parents, let's work together as a team. Anytime they need to get in touch with me, they can. I do give them my phone number. Some of them take advantage of it, some of them don't. But, I put myself out there for them because it's for the child. We want the child to have the opportunity to be purposed in being successful.
Yes, praise God for that. And, one thing I'd like to say is that learning never stops. And so that's a major thing. I aim to be a lifelong learner myself, and it's not just about schooling. We're learning in all of our different experiences on our day-to-day life, right? So it's not, interacting with your students, having those teachable moments, take advantage of those moments. And as Mr. Ganier and Ms. Shelton said, reading, of course, is at the foundation of that. So, you look for ways in which, fun ways in which you can engage your students to encourage them to read throughout the summer. Libraries sometimes, and I know, of course, just, still taking precautions, but a lot of libraries have programs in the summer that you want to get involved with, that encourages students because they like, reading in community, right? Sometimes it might be boring just to read at home, just you, but reading with other students your age, your peers, they get excited about that, right? And then other activities, right? We want to make sure that we're giving them different experiences, a wide range of experiences. We want to appeal to their interests. Whatever it is they're interested in, you want to make sure you try to hone in on that and try to help them to develop it, whether it be something physical, something intellectual, educational. You want to try to help them to develop whatever that skill, that talent, that gift is, because that's important. And then also just, we have summer programs as well that are going to be available at some of our schools. So find out about those. Primarily, they're usually for students who are struggling in certain subject areas, language arts, reading, and mathematics. But there are other programs out there. There are other summer programs, summer camps. Again, that goes back to, honing in on their interests. So keeping them active, giving them a wide range of experiences as best you can. Of course, always focusing on reading and just continuing that learning process. It has to continue. It never stops. It should never stop. Right? We're learning all the time. So that should never end. So we just have to keep that in the forefront of our minds. And then, as you were saying, Mrs. Arthurs, I know we do need a break. They do need a break from the devices. But, you don't want them to lose those skills that they've developed this year. So find ways and just, you limit the amount of time they can spend on it, but find ways in which they can use those skills and develop those skills further. Again, libraries have really great STEM and STEAM programs that students love to participate in. So, those are great resources for you. Libraries, community centers, those are great resources for you to keep your children active and involved in learning and growing in the summer, during the summertime.
All valuable points from my colleagues. And if I should just piggyback just a little on the whole business of interest, as we all know, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences, because I think sometimes we underestimate certain skills, certain abilities in our students at the expense of say the linguistic, and I would say to parents, continue to place before your children the value of an education. And when I'm talking about education now, I'm not just talking about all of them becoming lawyers and doctors. It doesn't work like that. Education is holistic, as we know, and we just talk about Howard Gardner. If you see that your child has a bent towards music, then by all means, buy them a musical instrument during this time and encourage them. Buy a book that is a companion to that and allow them to grow in that area. If they are scientifically bent, like Mr. Gaynor there, then make sure they are exposed to a lot of scientific instruments and implements and books and so on. Because this is how they are going to grow. We know that children really mature and get really gifted when they have interest and we push them towards those interests. So place before them really the value of education.
Yeah, and I would just say finally, reading. There's ebooks on Kindle. We have our own electronic library. That would be great to get our students on board with if they're not already for the summer, where they can take out a number of books. And then also, I always suggest a summer bridge book. You can find them on Amazon for about $7 to $10, and they bridge the gap. So if your student is in second grade, you buy the second, third grade. And if they do one page back and front every day for the summer, and they bring that to their teacher at the end. I mean, we always say, that'll be your first grade. It's like some bonus points. And we've had kids finish the whole entire book. But it's front and back, and it covers all of the skills, language, art, science, social studies, math, in that page. One page, back and front, every day. Read a book, spend time, like Mr. Gaynor said, read with your child. It's a gift. As they get older, they want to read by themselves. So if they're still young, read with your child, hear them correct their words as they're going along, enjoy the reading, laugh with them, have them draw a picture, retell the story. There's so many ways you can use that. Read, and then also try to get out, do exercise, take them on experiences. If they can go to a museum or go to the beach and look for shells and, take a magnifying glass and look at the wonderful things that God has made, those experiences are going to just enrich them over the summer. They need to get out. They've been cooped up in front of a screen so long. Yeah, and take advantage of Title I. I know that Title I is extending through the summer. If you're already a Title I student, take advantage of all of those free tutoring resources. And if you need more resources, contact your school, your teacher. They will lead you in the right direction.
Wow, thank you so much, everyone. Our time has sadly come to an end, but thank you for this valuable information and allowing us to go on this reflective journey through this school year and what life was like. And we, again, look forward to what God has in store for the new year. And so parents, we love your children. We'll miss them during the summer, and we can't wait to see all of the changes and exciting new opportunities for the new school year. So again, to Mr. Somerville, Mr. Gaynor, Mrs. Matherin, Mrs. Murray, Mrs. Shelton, thank you for joining us. We cannot wait to see you next week, as we said before, for our program on mental health with Tiffany Adams. Next week, it is at 4:00. We will see you there. In the meantime, please stay blessed, stay safe, and have a great week.
Thank you for being my strength. Thank you for being my joy. It reaches to me. You are my strength. Strength like no other. Strength like no other. Reaches to me. You are my hope, blessed assurance, on Christ the solid rock I stand. You are my joy, yes you are. The world didn't give that, and the world can't take it. This joy away, 'cause in the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name, you lift me up, you lift me up. In the fullness of your grace, in the power of your mighty name, you lift me up, you lift me up. 'Cause Jesus is all the world to me. My life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without him I would fall. When I am sad, to him I go. No one can cheer me so. When I am sad, he makes me glad. He is my joy like no other, joy like no other, and it reaches to me. And you are my hope. We need your hope today, hope like no other, hope like no other. It reaches to me, 'cause in the fullness of your grace, in the power of your mighty name, you lift me up. Thank you for lifting me up. Oh, in the fullness of your grace, in the power of your mighty name, you lift me up, you lift me up. 'Cause when I am sad, to him I go. No other one can cheer me so. When I am sad, my God, he makes me glad. He's my friend, my friend. Thank you, and well done to an incredible group of professionals. To all the students, thank you for all your hard work throughout the school year. I am so honored to have worked with and assisted you. You make me proud to be a part of the SEC learning community. You keep me laughing and young at heart. I am grateful for your joy, your aptitude, insight, and unique talents. Thank you to our viewers for joining us and continuing to support us each time. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Not necessarily in that order. We have come to the end of this segment and hope to see you again next week for another interesting program entitled Your Child's Mental Health and Wellness. Also, stay tuned for our graduation celebration on Sabbath, June 5th. See you next week. Stay blessed and have a happy Sabbath.
Coronavirus. 5 things kids need to know. Number 1, wash your hands for 20 seconds. Sing a short song while you scrub. Number 2, visit your friends from home. Ask your parents about a play date using the phone or computer. Number 3, masks are safe, not scary. They help protect people from germs. Number 4, cover your cough or sneeze. Use your elbow or a tissue. Be sure to wash your hands too. Number 5, be a good helper. Don't forget to clean up after yourself. Remember, it's okay to ask questions. Asking questions can help you feel better. Thanks for watching.